We are introducing Arewa Youth Mentorship Program. The AYMP is a collection of Northern Nigeria academics and professionals from different spheres of life who volunteer to offer free mentorship and equip Northern Nigeria youth at all levels with necessary knowledge on career opportunities, scholarship grants, personality building, innovation, among others.
Hello everyone, my name is Tariq Ahmed, and on behalf of the Arewa Youth Mentorship Organizing Committee, as always, it is my pleasure to welcome you to our session today titled Job Interview Mastery, Essential Tips and Winning Strategies. So I feel quite a lot of us have been in that situation where we've put in quite a lot of time to put in an application, and we got successful. We get a request to participate in an interview. But then after the interview, we reflect and think, oh, I could have said this or that, I could have done better. And lo and behold, a few days later, we receive that kind of unfortunately email. So really, today, that's what our session is designed for, to look at how do we kind of equip us all with kind of tips as well as strategies that will kind of hopefully help us to kind of better, or rather get better outcomes following our interviews. So today we have invited a number of experts who have wealth of experience pertaining to interview processes. And as always, our agenda will comprise of 4 to 5 main points. First of all, we'll hear from Dr. Ado Mani, who's a coordinator of AYMP, to talk to you, first of all, to welcome our guests, and also to talk to you with regards to how you can get involved with the Arewa Youth Mentorship Program. And then after that, I'm not sure if a special guest have joined, but you would note in the editorials that we have a special guest in person of Professor Yusuf Al-Hassan, who will talk to us briefly for a few minutes. And then after that, we'll have presentations from our experts. And then we'll get a Q&A session where you can contribute either using the chat box, or you could use the raise hand option. So really what we want, as always, is for each and every one of us to kind of walk away from this session with a bit of actionable insights that will help us all present our best self in order to increase our chances of kind of landing that dream job. So without further ado, I will call on Dr. Ado Mani to give his welcome remark, and as I've mentioned, talk to you with regards to how you can get involved with our Youth Mentorship Program. Dr. over to you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Tariq, for this kind introduction. And I would also like to start by thanking our speakers for honoring our invitation to join us and share with us their experiences regarding this very important topic. And I would also like to welcome our participants for joining. I believe maybe some of you are already, you are not first timers in AYMP. But in case if you are joining for the first time, we have done a number of sessions, and I recommend that you watch them from our YouTube channel. In this particular session, we are speaking on job interviews, but previously we have discussed issues ranging from how you prepare your CV, how you see the job opportunity, how you get scholarships. We even talked on some entrepreneurship related subjects. So I think we are doing it like in a series. So I recommend that if you are joining for the first time, you take some time to watch the previous sessions from our YouTube channel. Yeah, and maybe I will share the link going forward in your chat box, so that you can be able to join. Without taking much of time, I think, Dr. Tariq, we can delve into the session. We allow our speakers to share the experiences with us, and I hope at the end of the session we will have some takeaways. All of us are here to learn in one way or the other. Even if you are secured, you have job, Generally now the world, people are always looking for another jobs. Yesterday, Abdulmalik was at some point in a place, and today he's in another place, and perhaps tomorrow he's in, some other places. So I believe this is something that everyone needs to equip themselves with the skills. Yeah, so inshallah, we are ready to learn, and I hope it will be very impactful. People will have some one or two things to take from this session. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Doctor. So our special guest, I don't think he's here yet, but I think we can proceed. Whenever he's here, we can always give him the slot for his talk. So our first presenter today would be Ado Mani Mahamadou. Ado Mani Mahamadou is a certified human resource professional and human resource analyst from the Global Academy of Finance and Management in the United States. With over a decade of expertise in human resource and organizational development across various regions in Africa, he holds an MBA from the University of Nicosia, a master's degree in human resource management, and is currently pursuing his PhD in human resources. He is a founding member of Human Resources Professional Association of Niger, a partner at Strategic Workforce Solutions in Nigeria. And throughout his career, Ado has held senior management and advisory roles, providing technical support and consulting to startups in sectors such as agro-business, real estate, and construction. He is currently serving as a people partner for the IPPF Africa and Arab World regions based in Nairobi. With strong ties to Nigeria and Niger, he is known for his dedication to improving talent acquisition, performance management, and organizational development across Africa. Thank you very much, Ado Mani Mahamadou. I'll give you the floor now. I understand you have a presentation. Hopefully, you should be able to share your screen. And I'll give you about 20 minutes, more or less.
Thank you very much, Tariq. I hope you can hear me. Good afternoon or good evening, everyone. So thank you for the brief introduction. Mr. Tariq, let me quickly share my screen. I hope you can see my screen.
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. So as Mr. Tariq mentioned, so I'm going to briefly just give you or share some overview about some of the essential tips and winning strategies when going into interview. So my presentation is going to take around 20 minutes. So I'm going to be a bit fast. I hope so that we'll be able to cover all the different points. So this is just the content of the presentation. Some are very just they're not like bigger presentations, but just some tips, and for us to be able to have more time for the Q&A at the end of the interview. So what is the interview? Because we are a bit surrounded by some academicians, just going to give some brief introduction about what an interview stands for. So an interview is just a meeting with an objective. Just can be a face-to-face, can be a panel facing a candidate or any other and the objective is just to review candidate's experience and abilities. Can the candidate do the job? Can he or will he be able to do the job? How will the candidate fit into the organization, both in terms of the personality and also in terms of the culture fit. So the objective actually of interview is to showcase your ability and to establish whether you have the competencies for the job, to establish your knowledge, as you have mentioned on your CV or your resume. And also to assess your interest and your motivation for the position and also for the organization. It's also an opportunity, for the panel or the organization to evaluate your communication skills, to find out what you are like as a person and as a professional, and also as well as clarify any other information, because the CV, is very vague, right? You can't give the full picture of the person, both in terms of the personality and the professionalism. So it's just like a picture. So you might need to have this opportunity where you're going to clarify some of the questions that you might have based on the CV. It's also give an opportunity to find out more about the employer, because interview is a two-way process. It's not just only an organization looking for someone. It's also for you looking for a job, or just not only you looking for a job. It's also the organization looking for someone. So it's just an opportunity for you, the two parts, to have this mutual decision making. It's actually good to understand that, even if because these employers are the most powerful, they're the one that actually have power in decision making, but actually it's a both side process. How shall we prepare for our interview? So it's actually very good before you start the interview, or before even you go for the interview, the first time you get this notification that you are selected. So you have to know, you have to be very calm, because it depends on when you are not like very calm, you didn't rest well, because someone can be very much agitated, because maybe this is my first job, this is my second job, I'm in internship, I'm selected or pre-selected to participate to an interview. I'm a bit excited. So you have to really get plenty of rest. You have to dress for success, dress considering companies' dressing code. So it depends, like if you are interview for an engineering, company, you can just go, with your shirt, your t-shirt and the shirt, it's fine, depending on what accepted and not accepted. So there are also some that are actually care about, the color, which type of color. If, for example, I'm interviewing for a green, let's say an environmental organization. So, the colors matter, right? So it's good to look for those small things. Get to know very well where the interview is going to take place. Arrive at least 10 minutes before. Carry your resume. Always have a copy. Your notebook and also a pen. Go ensure that your pen is working. Don't go in the interview and that's when the interview starts, they're going to check if your pen is working or not. You have to avoid those small mistakes that actually can, cost you your job. Practice a mock interview. Go on the internet. Try just with some friends. Just try yourself. Decode and yeah. So know about the employer, research, and get to know the company, the industry, as well as all the potential competitors. So you need to know the market at least to show that you have a good understanding of the organization. Try to revise very well the job description, because it's very important for you to know exactly, because the job description actually, most of the questions are tailored toward fulfilling those different tasks that are actually mentioned in the job description. So it's very good for you to revise the job description. At the beginning, once you are at the company, it's very important to be careful about the icebreaker, the greetings, the first impression. It really counts a lot. And also there's some small talks. Sometimes, you find that the secretary or the receptionist is just there waiting for you. So you can engage on small talks that are very relevant to the company, to the organization, to what they're looking for. And be very careful. Don't be very judgmental. Don't try to just talk about anything that has nothing to do with the organization. So it's very important to be very careful when you talk about those small talks. So how many types of interviews do we have? We have a variety. There's quite a lot depending on the schools, right? Some might say that 9, 15, depending on the year. But generally, we have around 7. Yeah. So we have the basic and traditional interview. This is the most common one. The one-on-one. Can be one-on-one. It can be one on a panel. 2, 3 people. With the candidate. Can be face-to-face, or it can be remote, right? We have what you call an interview, which generally just is a very short interview, maybe 5 to 10 minute interview, or an HR interview. It depends. Sometimes they can be different. Sometimes they can be the same. Yeah, and just clarify some small talks. Can just talk about maybe they can see are they likely to afford you? Are you likely look like what they are looking for? So generally, it's conducted with only one person on telephone. Generally, the HR. Or maybe the receptionist, or just someone just want to know, just to there's a small checklist to check on some basic information about the candidate, so they can just do we think that this can be good, and then before going to the other thorough interview. We have the group interview. For example, an organization is hiring, for example, 20 trainees. or they can say, okay, we can do group interviews, 5 trainees will come at the same time, or 10 will come at the same time. They sit down and they can go through, it's like conversation, interactions, and discussion, and they will be able actually to select which one will go to the next round or the final round. We have the interview during a meal or social occasion. Someone can recommend you for a position, and someone can say, okay, please, can I have a dinner with that person? Can invite you for a dinner, or or any social occasion, right? You can just around a tea, we can just discuss it and say, okay, are you likely a fit? And nowadays very common, especially when it comes to recommending someone for the interview. We have what we call serial interviews. You will come, for example, for interviews, and you're going to meet like 4 different people. Instead of meeting them all together, you're going to meet them individually, right? For maybe 2-3 rounds or 4 rounds. We have what we call presentation style interview. So for those kind of interviews, you are requested to prepare a presentation that send you some questions, right? And then you can prepare the answers, and then you do the presentation in front of the panelists. And it can be followed up by, the basic or the traditional interviews. And then you have what we call online proctored interview. Those one is just questions. You just do that with your machine, right? They will design a questionnaire, and the candidate will just come, sit down, and then one time it comes, and you have like 30 minutes, and maybe there's 10 questions, and then you respond to each question. It's going to be recorded, and then later the panelists are going to assess you based on the video that you have actually registered. Yeah. Type of questions. We have a lot of type of questions, but in general, maybe they can be around, let's say 9, 10. So we have what we call a yes or no question. That's actually very rare in an interview. We have the brain teaser question. That are very, psychometric questions sometimes. Just to see how, sharp a candidate is. We have background and experience questions. Just mainly put an emphasis on how you went through some other situation in a professional life, etc. The legal framework and so on and so on. We have what we call technical or competency-based questions. These are actually the most common and the most important on us. And actually they happen generally when you go up a bit higher level, because they're very important. And that's actually what generally most of the senior positions use. We have also behavioral or situational-based questions. They're likely a bit the same, but they're just more like, situation-based. We have what we call diversity questions. Nowadays, if you look at some of those bigger, or companies, they talk a lot about diversity and inclusion. So there is quite a lot of questions, pertaining to diversity and inclusion that are actually generally a lot of organizations has, okay, whenever someone applies for that position, he has to go through this set of positions, 1, 2, or 3 positions just pertaining to diversity and inclusion. We have what's called conditions of employment questions. Pertaining, okay, are you willing to relocate are you willing to travel in this position? Are you willing to work, overtime, and so on and so on? So those kind of employment, conditions of employment question. And then we have lawful and unlawful questions. Lawful questions are all questions that are allowed, legally accepted, and that's what we call unlawful questions that are legally not accepted. Questions pertaining to gender, race, ethnicity, and so on and so on. All those personal things. So this is just an illustration of what we call the STAR, and very good. Whenever you are going to answer a question, it's always what the panel is expecting from you is just, to give the situation. Okay, there is this situation, and what exactly have you done personally to solve the problem, and what action or steps have you gradually taken, to effect a solution, and what was the result. So it's very important to keep in mind whenever you're going into an interview that you have to respect this STAR framework in responding to the question. We have a lot of type of questions actually. Okay, so there is questions about the individual. For example, about you yourself as a candidate. Tell me about yourself. How do you respond, to any question that pertaining to you, and how are you to showcase your ability to undergo any issue. So there is also questions about the job itself. How are you matching the job? Okay, they're also very common. And generally, they represent also, these are the two actually represent around 50% of the interview questionnaires in general. And also there is some general knowledge, general questionnaire that's about maybe the industry, the company, and so on. You can see just some examples here. When it comes to the competency-based questions, is just as I said, is really the most important one, the most common one, and whatever the level nowadays, people are looking at the competency-based question. We don't care about, but just show us what are you able to do. And actually this type of question response actually helps assessors or the panel to be able to see, are you really able to do such specific things? Are you able to really deliver once you're given the position? So, and the company identifies key skills required for each job. And they are actually designed based on what are the requirements for that job. And if you look at the different tasks that are given in each job, so what we do generally, we just look at the different job and we design based on those different job tasks. So it's some competency-based questions. So it's actually designed to elicit evidence of skills, emphasis on past behavior as predictor of success. So what do you do for us to be able to predict that yes, you will be able to actually deliver? So in general, there are some areas like teamwork. Okay, for example, describe a team project you worked on. What problem arose? How did you deal with them? For example, you see. There are some communications, describe situation when you had to persuade others to support your view. Give an example of any report you have written which illustrates your writing skills. So an example, interpersonal skills, taking responsibility, problem solving, and so on and so on. So whatever is actually required for that specific role, so the questions are actually designed based on those required competencies or skills for that role. And in general, there is what we call there's an employer need, right? And also, what are you going to bring to show? For example, as a fresher, someone who's a bit new and just starting his professional life. So when you are interviewing generally, you can have example. You don't need to have professional experience to show that you have some set of skills. You can actually use your academic or your academic background actually, or even social background sometimes, to showcase that yes, you have the skills. For example, the communication. If you're asked, for example, to give an example of when you have demonstrated strong communication skills, right? So you can give an example, the presentation you did in class, right? How well you have been doing, when you are in school or university, when it comes to presentation. So teamwork, you see, leadership. I was a class representative, and I was part of the school committee, and so on. So it showcases that yes, that person has some leadership, qualities, right? Initiative, fundraising for a charity or fundraising for a specific, situation. You can just give those examples. So you might not necessarily need. And nowadays we don't actually focus much generally, in this one have 20 years experience. No, just what are you able to do? And sometimes you will see that some companies are even prefer to recruit those professionals because they are more likely to, they want to shape their own staff. So it's easier for them to take someone who's a bit younger, who just may have a very limited experience, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, and then they can actually help him to grow. That's why we have young program, young internship program, youth, young professional programs, and so on and so on in all those big institutions. And actually, most of the time, actually, they recruit those guys after they have finished their internship. So as I said, interviewing is a two-way process. Don't give, even if the question looks like a yes or no question, don't give yes or no answer. Try at least to make it a bit seem more professional, right? Yeah. So it's also good to listen and careful and react. When something is not clear for you, when a question is not clear for you, never rush to answer a question that's not clear for you. Always ensure that you are asking more clarification. Interviews begin the minute before you step onto the company's door. So the interview doesn't actually start when you sit in front of the panel or in front of your laptop, right? No, it starts the time you receive the notification. The way you are going to respond to that email, saying, okay, you're invited, right? Or the way you're going to respond to that phone call, you know? So you need to be very, very careful. Don't respond in a way, and if you know sometimes that you are in a crowded place, be very careful. Sometimes you can be called and you can't even hear. People can be trying to call you and you are not audible or you can't hear them. So it can be frustrating even for this guy, someone that we can really, So try to be, we know that sometimes happen, but don't say, okay, can I just call you in 5 minutes? And then just find a wide, quiet place and respond. So be very careful. It starts from there, especially the first project. Be positive and don't be stressed. If you are stressed, it won't help you. Right, so try to be as much. We know it's you can be excited. You know, it's something very special for you. You know, it's sometimes very crucial for you, or you are looking for a job. You are maybe desperate, but there is no need for you to be stressed. The more you be stressed, the chance you are going to fail. How are you going to shape your answers? As I said, listen carefully, seek clarification, illustrate answers with real example and evidence. So once you ask questions, people are like, don't give them just, you know, like, okay, if it happened, this is how I'm going to do. No, give an example. Okay, a similar situation happened when I was working for this, and this is what happened, this is what I did, and this actually what happened. So give them, you know, illustrate your answers with some concrete and real examples. Don't just give them like just what you believe in your head is going to happen. No, they want to see someone who is actually able to, you know, who is used to actually be in a similar situation. Be positive, you know, constructive criticism. Yes, be really very positive whenever you are, even you're going to give you're going to criticize a past situation, you're going to just show that something bad that happened, but be very constructive. Don't be very negative, you know, okay? And don't also try to condemn, you know, talk about, you know, in a very negative way about your former employers, whatever, even if it's the case, be professional, because they said, okay, so if this guy is doing that for this first interaction, so it means that tomorrow is going to do the same with us. Keep answers specific and brief. Be very brief. Don't go, you know, sometimes it can be very evasive, you know, when we are, especially we are comfortable with a question, you can be tempted to give a lot of answers or a lot of, you know, details. It's not necessary. Be very brief. Take time to respond. Yes, take time to respond. Make sure you respond to the question. Be alert to interviewers about the language. Sometimes if you, for example, you are answering to a question and you might see that, you know, the interviewers are like showing that you are taking long. Hey, you are tired. Please come to the fact. So be very alert, you know, be alert to interviewers body language. Speak clearly and smile and show enthusiasm. Don't go, you are angry, you know you are stressed, but be very, 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 very positive. Smile and show a lot of enthusiasm. Know what you want to say and find the opportunity. Yes, you have to know what you want to say. Don't just try to, if it's not clear, ask the question. If even you want to take like 1-2 minutes, even if you understood the question, you can ask, can you please repeat the question? You can just give you 1 minute or 2 minutes to think about, you know, to have more time to think about the best answer to give for each question. What are the qualities, you know, employees seek? Employers are looking for, you know, good all-round intelligence, people that are actually very smart. Definitively, everyone is looking for that people, but not just smart people. They're also looking for enthusiastic people, you know, that are very enthusiastic, that are committed, and that are also motivated, that have very good communication skills, that are team players, right? That are able really to function and work within a team, that are also able to solve problems, right? They're going to be bring some interviews actually because just they're going to bring you some problems. So how are you going to show that you are able to solve those problems? Capacity to work hard. Are you able to work hard, to go extra mile, right? Initiative and self-reliance. That's very important. People want creativity nowadays, right? Also self-reliance. Yes, you are going to rely on people that definitively to help you grow, but you can also be someone who can be, you know, reliable. Balanced personality, you know, or just not very smart, you know, very good, but who's not like respecting the organization policy, who's not disciplined. No, they're actually looking at a very person who can be balanced, who can show that he's balanced, right? Don't go and show that because you are a hard worker, you can say, no, me, I can work 16 hours, 20 hours. They don't need this kind of person because they know you can do that. You can start doing that, but at some point you can be strict and you can fail, right? So they want to have people that are really balanced, both personally, psychologically, mentally, and socially, because it's very important. Nowadays, we talk a lot about diversity and inclusion. We don't have staff that are actually very aware about what is diversity, what diversity means, what inclusion means, what is sheer, right? Issues pertaining to harassment, sexual harassment, exploitation, and abuse, right? It's very common. Especially when I take our context, it's very something that people don't talk about because of our cultural background, right? But it is very common, and we need people that are actually able to identify it and able to report whenever they saw it. We talk about safeguarding for them, especially for those working in those international organizations, like NGOs, UN, and so on. We talk about we are working with children, we are working with beneficiaries, we are working with very weak people that can actually defend themselves, that can be easily abused of. So you have to be very aware whenever you are working, you are actually interviewing for those organizations. Be very aware. There's questions that pertaining to diversity, inclusion, share, and safeguarding actually might come. This is actually an addition also in what are the competencies that organizations also are looking for: adaptability, integrity, innovation, teamwork, initiative, drive for result. Yes, this is very important. At the end of the day, you can be the best employees with all big values, but at the end of the day, if you are not able to deliver, you are not actually because organizations are looking for, they need to have results, right? People that know the business. You can't go for interview and you even don't know exactly what the organization does. You have nowadays with the internet, you can go to their website, you can ask people, can know a lot, Open exchange of information, people that are actually really open. Also people that make this difficult decision, right? It's not easy. It's not everyone can make this, even if this generally at the management level, but it can happen also at the very, very, very beginning level. Someone can find himself in a situation where he can make decision. And we need to know, are you able to make difficult decisions, right? So you are also required during the interview to ask some questions, right? So don't quickly go ask questions about pay. Generally, that's actually generally the new generation, when they are going for the interview, they're very, in a hurry. They always ask, okay, how much are you paying? Okay, yes, we are all looking for something to, but for you, at that time, specific time, your objective is not you are not here for the pay. You are here to get a job. So when you're asking questions, be very smart. Ask questions about training programs, development opportunities, right? Right? Ask questions about career development opportunities. Ask questions about type of project, responsibilities, Ask questions about reporting structure. Okay, how is the organization structured? Talk about performance management. How is the organization handling performance? Or how is the organization handling underperformance? Or helping employees to actually perform better? What is the profile of the staff? Talk about organizational culture. Questions about topics raised in interviews. There are a lot of questions that maybe you might not, are not very clear for you that are asked. We can also ask you the question. Okay, you asked about this. Okay, what is your perspective about that? Yeah, what are also the next steps? It's also good for you to know, what creates a bad impression in an interview? Poor personal appearance, definitively. If you are really applying for an executive officer position and you put some outfit that are actually not accepted. So I always take into the consideration the context, right? So, but try always to appear, to dress yourself in a very accepted manner based on the context. Negative attitude, you being evasive, using excuses, asking, just interrupting people when they're asking questions, contradicting some can actually try to provoke you sometimes. It's very common in interviews, but you stay calm. Don't make a lot of excuses. You're not there to make it. You are there to sell yourself. Lack of interest and enthusiasm. That doesn't go like, you are like sent. You are on mission for your own, right? Yes, the organization is also looking for someone, but you also have to show that, yes, you are really the right choice for that position. Lack of preparation. Take your time to prepare. Take your time to prepare very well. Yeah, get to know the industry, get to know the job, ask questions, and try to Google, go on LinkedIn, look at the profile of the person who sent you an email, see the structure of it, because nowadays it's very easy to see, who's linked to who. You can even know who's the panel is going to be likely. Okay, this is the HR, maybe I'm applying for a finance thing. Okay, the finance director is that one because, they are linked in the position. So there is quite a lot you can get to know through the preparation. And this can help you. The more you know about the person, the more likely you're going to be able to respond and to get along with him or her. Poor knowledge of role, definitively. If you don't know the role, you are not a good fit. Failure to give concrete example of skills. Yes, be very specific. Give examples. Overemphasis on money, as I said. Yes, we are not all looking for something to, make our life better, but don't emphasize on it. Lack of career plan. Yes, look at the career also plan. Tips for successful interview also include think like an employer. Don't criticize past employees or coworkers. Beware of illegal questions, right? As I mentioned, there are some illegal, unlawful questions, right? Any question pertaining to very personal traits. Maintain professionalism. Even if you are comfortable, those people, remain professional. Even if it's it's a friend of your uncle or it's a cousin of your cousin, whatever, be professional. And be prepared for the unexpected. Don't say that, okay, I'm prepared, all the questions are going to come up, they want. No. Be alert. And some questions that you are not expecting might come. And calm down and find a way to answer them. Beware of body language. Whenever you are talking with your panels, look at how they react. Sometimes you can see, if you are right way, you can see they're like very good. Are they writing? Are they nodding? Yeah. So try to read their body language. Be well groomed. It's very important. Exit. At the end of the interview, say at least thank you for your time. Appreciate the opportunity that was given to you. Okay, and also use some very, very nice words, okay, expressions. Okay, I'll be looking forward to hearing from you. It's also very important for you to be able to show that yes, you are grateful, and also you are looking for what's going to come afterwards. So this is actually my presentation. Over to you. Yeah, colleagues. Thank you.
Tariq, you're on mute.
Yes. Yeah.
Oops, I'm on mute. Sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yes, you can hear.
Yes. So thank you for that wonderful, detailed, insightful presentation. As I was saying, I've picked out a number of useful tips and also some mistakes that I've done, which I'll make sure that I don't repeat that next time. So thank you very much for that wonderful presentation. I'm sure there's quite a lot of questions from our participants. Usually, we leave the question towards the end of the session. That way, we can get everyone to chip in terms of asking questions or in terms of answering the questions. So usually I like to summarize, but today we have loads of experts in the room, so I think I'll just move on to the next speaker. Our next speaker today is Dr. Bashir Jelani Usman, who is a member of the organizing committee Arewa Youth Mentorship Program. He's provided immeasurable contributions to AIMP. He has obtained his bachelor's from the University of Danfodio, where he studied BSc Applied Chemistry, after which he obtained his master's in Material Science and Engineering from King Fahd University of Petroleum and Mineral Resources at Saudi Arabia, and then a PhD in Material Science from the University of Manchester. After that, he completed a postdoc at the University of Manchester, and currently is a postdoctoral research associate at the University of Notre Dame at the United States. Dr. Usman, I don't know if Mr. Ado has made the job difficult, given his, the coverage of the presentation, but I'm sure definitely you would have a thing or two to add as well. So I'll pass on the virtual mic to you.
Hello, everyone. Is my voice clear?
Yes, we can hear you and you can see your screen as well. If you could just make it slideshow that would.
Yeah, sure.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for the opportunity. I actually feel privileged to be part of the panelists discussing this important issue today. I'm so excited. And like you said, actually, Mr. Ado has exhausted all the topic. I mean, he talked about everything regarding this topic, and I was left with little to say about it. Of course, it's not surprising he is an expert in this field. After spending decades working as a HR, I believe we have benefited a lot from his speech. So today's topic is about interview preparation. I usually feel excited. I feel happy when I get an email for the interview invitation. That's because it means like my application, my CV has created some good impression with the employers. So they are happy to see my CV and then accept it for the interview. Do remember that when you apply for a job, sometimes there can be so many applicants, maybe hundreds or thousands of applicants, and only very few get the interview. Maybe 1%, 2%, 5% will get the interview. Sometimes a job, maybe a single job will be will receive like 100 applications, but only 5 people will be interviewed. So I feel excited, definitely. I don't know if it is only me, but I personally feel very happy when I get interview invitation. So although Mr. Ado has comprehensively talked about this topic, so, but I think I still have certain things to talk about. He has already defined what interview is, okay, that it is a two-way process and interaction between interviewer who is an employer and then an interviewee, somebody who is looking for a job. It is a purposeful meeting, actually, like you as an interviewee, you have your own purpose. Your own purpose is to get the job. And the interviewer, on the other hand, is trying to find the best person for that job. So it is your own responsibility. He has already accepted that your CV has the skills he needs, the qualifications he needs, but then it is now your responsibility to make sure that you impress him. You make sure that you are the best guy for the job. So that is why they arrange interview, which is a two-way process. So interviewer, first of all, will try to confirm and verify that whatever you said in your CV is true. So your skills, your qualifications, and then the knowledge you mentioned in the CV, that yes, you have the knowledge. And also interviewer will try to get additional information from you. So he will assess your personality, your character, your salary expectations. Sometimes they try to know what actually you need about the compensation, and then your availability for the job, or whether you are willing to relocate to the job location. Sometimes they also want to know more details about they want to give you more details about the nature of the job, because maybe they were not able to give all the details in the advert, but then in the interview process, they will let you know that these are more information about this job you're applying to. On the other hand, as an interviewee, you present yourself as the best person for that job. That is your job. That is what you need to do. Unfortunately, not everyone is able to do this. The success rate of interviews is actually like 20%, which means only 20 out of 100 people get the offer after the interviews. So you see so many people having interviews regularly, but then there is no offer. I mean, they don't succeed, don't get the job, which means they might have been doing some things wrong. You know what I mean? So I'm actually very happy to see that we are discussing this issue today. We have other people as well to come. Mr. Ado has talked about it from the HR perspective. myself, Dr. Abdulmalik, Dr. Yakasai, will be looking at it from applicant perspective. More or less, we're going to tell you our experiences during interviews. So another thing you need to know that during the interview, which is a two-way process, you also need to ask information about the job. And so you make decision whether this job is right for me. Ask questions about the job, about the organization. Okay. You understand the needs for the employer and the need for that job. So this is it. Generally, interviewer will try to assess whether if you can do the job. I think whether you can do the job, that is through evaluating your skills, your knowledge, your accomplishments, achievements. Then he will confirm that you can do the job. And then whether you will do the job. And he will know this through your passion, your interest and motivation. So it is now your own responsibility to make sure that you indicate a genuine interest in the job, genuine passion in the job, and that show them that you are really excited, you are motivated to do the job. This is what they assess as well. They also try to evaluate whether you are a good match for their organization, because companies have their own missions, they have their own visions, they have their values, they have their competencies. So through that, they will try to make sure that your attitude, your personality matches what they are looking for. And that is why, because you can see so many factors they look at, that is why interview questions are very, the categories are many. The categories of interview questions are many. I listed some of them here. Sometimes it is more to do with your technical experience. Your field of expertise, your competence. So the questions will come and they will try to dig about your knowledge of that field. Okay, you claim to be an engineer, mechanical engineer or materials engineer. So they will now ask questions about such field. You claim to be a business administrator, then they will try to know whether you really have the knowledge of that field. So those are technical questions. Then sometimes they ask you personal questions. Personal. Tell me about yourself. This question is a very common question. As in, they always ask, tell me about yourself. So, and actually it's an opportunity to shine. Tell them about yourself. You talk about your experiences, your qualifications that match the job description. Sometimes it's also personal. They ask you, why did you leave your last job? Okay, this is a very tricky question. They ask you why you leave your last job, and be careful not to say any bad thing about your previous employer. Don't ever say anything bad about them, even if they push you, or why did you leave it? Why do you want to join us? Okay, don't ever tell them bad about your previous employer. Always give some compliments, some praise to the previous employer, because it's logical. Like if you now talk bad about your previous employer, it means if they employ you, you are likely to betray them. You are likely to go and talk about them as well. So then you ask you, like, what are your strengths and weaknesses? Be careful. It's good that we have a question and answer session. Probably myself and other colleagues will be able to address most of these questions in details. So they ask you, what are your strengths and weaknesses? Be careful, mention your strengths, effectively convey your strengths, and then your weaknesses. Don't say no. You cannot say you don't have any weakness. Tell them you have weakness, but then try not to make it a job description. Like, don't say what they need as your weakness. So let them know that you have weakness, but then it doesn't affect your work. Your work, the work you're going to do for them, it doesn't affect it. So, and then they talk about compensation you're looking for as a personal question. And then sometimes they may ask you, describe yourself in 3 to 5 words. Sometimes they ask you, why do you think you are the best guy for the job? Tell them why you think you are the best guy. So all these questions I'm listing here are some of the commonest questions that always been asked during interview, and it is your responsibility to prepare for the most common questions, prepare for them, and then expect them and write your answers, and then go to the interview confidently. Sometimes about behavioral or situational or hypothetical questions, they ask these questions to evaluate your previous experience, okay, how you have handled a situation, whether you are good at handling in circumstances if they happen. Okay, for example, they may ask you, tell me about a time you failed. That is why you need to prepare. So you need to think about logical and a smart answer, a time you failed. They ask you about the failure. Don't say, I have never failed, because it's not possible. If you have ever tried, then it means you certainly have encountered failures. Try to give a smart answer about this, the time you failed. And then that is not the important. What is important is that you tell them that you failed and you took action, and then there was a good result. So they want to know whether you are a type that learns from a failure. And then tell me about the time you took a leadership role. They want to assess your leadership quality here. Tell me all these questions that tell me a time when you had this. Tell me a time when you make a difficult decision. Tell me a time when you have to deal with a difficult team worker or difficult team member. So all these questions actually require what they call a star format answers. Star format, S for situation, so you give a situation, and then T is for task. What are the tasks that are needed? And then what happened? Okay, and then A is for action. What action did you take? And most importantly, R, which is the result. They want to know what are the results. And sometimes they ask you motivational questions or career goals. Why should we hire you? And so you see that it is important to do research about the company. Why should we hire you? So you already have learned about the company, about the job. So now you think they should hire you because of this, because of that. And why do you want to work for us? You know, this kind of questions, you expect them. And sometimes they ask you, where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? This question, if they ask you this question, they are trying to know whether you are a type that want to stay with them for a very long time, because they spend money to employ you. So what's the point if next year you are leaving? It means they are still going to waste another money to employ someone. So try to tell them that you see yourself working for them a long time. I mean, for a very long time. You'll be working for them, and then you will probably be making progress. You want to get promoted, you know, be making development to them. I mean, bringing development to them. So that is what they need. They want to know your loyalty. And then these are some of the tips. I categorize them, the tips you need to succeed during the interview. I mean, to pass your interview. So there are tips that you need to have before the interview, and then during the interview, after the interview. So before the interview.
Doctor, Doctor, before you go ahead, can you go back to the last slide?
Okay.
So let's say I don't have the leadership role now, right? So for example, it's just an example about tell me about a time when you took a leadership role. Let's say I don't have the leadership role. So what do you suggest I should do?
If you don't have a leadership role, you have never had any leadership role, be honest, tell them, but then in this situation, try to show them your potential to handle a leadership position. Be honest, but then you try to be a smart person to let them know that potentially you can be a good leader because you have good leadership qualities with you.
Okay.
I think that would be.
It's sometimes good to kind of. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry to cut you off. Yes, I think there would be an interacting session after this, just so that because we have Dr. Abdulmalik also, and of course yourself.
Okay.
Sorry. If we just leave, yes, no problem. And then later on, we can always have the discussion. But Doctor, you might have to round up because we're running out of time.
Did that take that long time? I didn't know.
Yes, please, if you could round up.
Okay, so then these are some of the tips you need to be aware of before the interview, during the interview, after the interview. How many minutes do I have now left?
Well, I would say about 2 minutes.
Oh my God! So these are some of the tips I think you need to be aware of. So you need to read the job description, do research about the organization, the interviewers as well, search their profiles on LinkedIn, on Google Scholar or ResearchGate. Let you know what they do, and then sometimes you need to prepare your answers. All these answers I have already highlighted. Make sure you prepare for them, you expect them, and then sometimes, if possible, do rehearsal with someone, and you dress professionally. And all of these are good tips to prepare for the interview. And during the interview, you focus on your strength. Make sure you let them know what you can do, and then you try to relate your responses to the organization and the job description. Okay, maintain a good body language, smile, maintain eye contact. You nod your head that you are getting their conversation, and then you listen carefully. Like I said, also be honest about your responses. So, and then what to do after the interview? Actually, always ask smart questions. Okay, draft your questions that you think you are going to ask them, because like we said before, it's a two-way process. So smart questions, prepare your questions smartly and ask them. And after the interview, send a thank you email. Send a thank you email that shows you are type that appreciate someone's time. So also you ask them about next steps after the interview, then follow up, write an email if there is no response after the interview, 1 week or 2 weeks, write an email to inquire what is the situation about your application. So this is the last slide I think I'm going to talk about. So list of don'ts. What you shouldn't do during interview is that don't say negativities about your previous employers. Don't ever say something bad about them, and don't show desperation. Like, oh, I need this job. I can work 16 hours a day. No, don't do that. Like, be human. Don't show desperation, and don't ever say I don't know. So even if you don't know what they're asking you exactly, you try to bring your relevant experience or relevant qualification, and then you respond. It's better than saying, I don't know at all. So, and then don't ever say things you can defend, because, okay, I am self-motivated, I am a hard worker, but then they'll ask you, how can you demonstrate that you are kind of hard worker? They ask, don't shoot yourself in the foot, so try to tell them what you can defend, so that show them how you can do things. That you also have a previous track record, or that you have the potential to address the issue. And that is it. So also, don't answer questions you don't understand. Ask them. If you don't understand, ask them to repeat the question. Ask them to repeat the question. So you don't just jump and start answering what you don't understand. That is a no. And also, don't interrupt interviewer. Allow them to talk. Don't interrupt, okay? They give you time to talk. Don't interrupt them when they are speaking. And thank you so much for taking your time. This is all I have to say. And I feel honored, I feel excited to have this opportunity to talk. And you can reach out to us personally, all the members of AYMP. We are always available to assist our friends, our younger ones. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much, Doctor. Thank you for that wonderful presentation. I'm sure you would also stay around. I'm sure there's going to be lots of questions. We've already started having one from Dr. Fauziya. I'm sure there's going to be lots of those questions. Thank you for that wonderful presentation. I think we'll go on straight. It's past an hour already. We'll go on straight to our next speaker in person of Dr. Abdulmalik Yusuf. He is a distinguished engineer, researcher, educator, and a podcast host. Currently, he is a lead engineer at Jaguar Land Rover in the United Kingdom and serves as a governor at a public school in Coventry. Dr. Abdulmalik is also the founder and the host of the Ado Mani podcast, where he engages in insightful discussions on various topics aimed at inspiring positive change and development in our beloved country. Dr. Abdulmalik holds a PhD in materials engineering and specializes in battery materials, failure analysis, and safety. He has had a notable career with roles at IMDEA Materials Institute in Spain and Rolls-Royce PLC in the United Kingdom, where he advanced battery safety and energy storage technologies. Earlier, he worked as a sales engineer in Turkey, focusing on the African automotive market. He is fluent in 5 languages and has a diverse academic background with degrees in chemistry, environmental engineering, bio and nanotechnology engineering, and business education. He's passionate about traveling and has visited a number of countries, I think over 20 now, and counting, Doctor. Thank you very much, Doctor, once again for honoring our invitation, and I'll pass on the virtual mic to you. You're on mute.
Same thing. All right. First of all, I would like to, express my gratitude, for this invitation. I must confess that I have been, previously behind the stage on the sessions that Arewa Mentorship, have been doing and engaging with esteemed speakers. And I must mention that as well, that I'm quite honored today to be here as a panelist and to share, the little that I have experienced so far. I don't have much to share. It's just a single slide, but yeah, just try to approach the topic from a different perspective. I don't know if you can see my screen.
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. Yeah, so first of all, I think anybody who gets invited into an interview needs to get a congratulations. As I think many of the speakers have mentioned, it means that you have surpassed a lot of hurdles to reach that level. Because when you look at the statistics, it says that 80% of candidates do not get actually shortlisted by recruiters, and then apart from this 80% who do not get shortlisted, only 2% of the 20% who are shortlisted get interviewed, and these 2% that get interviewed, equates to about 6 people, and those are the only people who are given the opportunity, to sit down with the hiring manager or even the recruiter to talk about most of the questions that the previous speakers have spoken about. So when I look at an interview, I see it as a storytelling opportunity, and everyone has a story to tell. So I see the world full of problems, and most of us in the roles that we do daily, it's about solving a problem. Even if you're a driver, you're a cleaner, you're trying to solve a problem. If you're a cleaner, you're trying to clean somewhere. If you're a driver, you're trying to get people from one place to another. If you're an engineer, the field of engineering is a field specially dedicated to problem solving. So I would say that it's your opportunity to showcase your story, and you set the narrative and the tone, how you want to say the story. So when you're given the interview, you have an opportunity, to show how you can bring your passion and enthusiasm as well as your competence, to the team who is interviewing you. And during the interview, I think most of the speakers have underlined the point of you being positive. So that positivity is quite important. You need to make sure you stay positive throughout the session. So you've been told already not to speak bad about your previous employers. So you should radiate positivity and also confidence. So I think confidence is something that you need to keep balance of throughout, the interview. And some of the things that help you to maintain that, and it's funny, but sometimes, research has shown that the clothes you wear help you. So you should look at, what you wear, what you're comfortable wearing. So don't move away, totally from what you wear just for the interview. Yeah, there are roles that you're moving. Let's say you're moving to a sales role where you need to wear a suit. So then wear it, but make sure that you don't overdress and you don't also underdress. So these kind of things, speaking, without rambling during the interview, all of these things help you, to maintain confidence. And I think one thing is practice, practice, and practice before the session. Because when you practice, you go in there ready for the questions, and it helps you to maintain a high level of confidence. So as you can see, I have drawn a journey of a career, and already at the start of these sessions, Dr. Yakubusano Wudil already talked about, you might be moving from one company to another, and you might have a couple of interviews during your life, or a number of them during your life. So I think also with time passing, you get skilled during the interview process. I myself have done a number of them. And I just want to underline some of the things that you may need, to inculcate in your sessions. So I think a dose of humility helps. So, sometimes you might get, asked a question that you genuinely don't know the answer, or you don't have the competence. So what do you do in those sessions? So I think some of the things you can do is, to show your enthusiasm for growth. So, you show them that you have an attitude, that allows you to learn some of those things. And I have experienced, situations where I don't really know the answer, and I just have to, just tell them that, look, I know this part of this problem, but this problem I think I need to improve on. So you just need to have that confidence about the parts that you know and the things that you don't know. And then I also found useful, during the interview sessions, to showcase your listening skills. So how do you showcase your listening skills in a practical setting? So in a practical setting, you might want to quote the interviewer. So you listen very well, and then you just give them a quote. You say, you mentioned at the beginning such and such, and you ask them a follow-up questions based on that. And there are other areas, where, tricky questions come in. I do remember, and I wanted to share this session, this sort of scenario that happened with me more than a decade ago, when I was invited to an interview in Istanbul, actually, by a top university in Saudi Arabia. So this university paid for our trip to Istanbul, paid for the hotel and everything. And then they asked me, tell me about yourself. At that point in my life, it was my first professional interview. I wore my suit, went to this hotel, sat down in front of the vice president of the university and senior professors. And I started telling them, about where I was born, telling them, about, the primary school I went to, telling them about different things that were irrelevant to the job. So I think one of the things that we learn from this is that you need to just say the things that are relevant. So when you're invited to talk about yourself, you just focus on the things you bring to the table, things that are mainly related to the job. So I think with this, I'll just let the next speaker, or the session to continue as an interactive session where, we would answer questions and provide more, perhaps maybe other speakers have different perspectives about different approaches. And I think, go on, Mr. Tariq, with this.
Thank you very much. Thanks. I think it's the tips, and you've wonderfully highlighted a number of those tips. So thank you very much. Straight on, I think we'll dive into our next speaker. I'm sure again there would be questions. So if you could kindly hold on until the end of the session, that would be very helpful. Thank you. Our next speaker is Dr. Fauziya. Again, Dr. Fauziya needs no introduction. She's been part of EYMP. She's kind of presented a number of times. She's a professional researcher and data scientist with over 7 years of experience in academia and industry. And she received her bachelor's from Bayero University, Kano, her master's from the University of Science and Technology in Abuja, and a PhD from Auburn University. And currently she's in Michigan. Is it Michigan? I do apologize for that.
Michigan State University. Michigan State University.
Okay, thank you. Yes. So I'll give you the floor for your talk. I'm sure you had a comment to make on, well, I don't know whether it's a question or a comment to make on Dr. Bashir's presentation. But again, after that, I'm sure there would be a number of Q&A interacting session.
Yeah. Okay, sorry. I'm using my tablet. Let me see if I can see it properly. So thank you all And thank you, Dr. Tariq. I think the speakers have said all the things that I needed to say, but maybe I will add some little points that I make a note of. The first important thing I know that I do when I'm doing an interview is try to make the environment conducive for me, especially like I know like here in the US, some of the recruiters can be friendly, some of them they cannot. So you have to try to make the environment a little bit conducive for yourself. You don't have to be that serious, just like one of the speakers said, like you should smile and all those things. Like try to, before they even start asking you question, you can start by talking to them, like, how are you? How is everything? Where are you from? And so on. So that like you have that conducive environment for yourself. The next thing is like you research about the interviewers. I know somebody mentioned about it like on LinkedIn, because that prepare you to know that which kind of question may come from them, how technical they can be, their background and so on. Like one of the interviews I did, one of them, she's from India. So her name was kind of difficult. I had to learn how to pronounce her name, know what it means and so on. So when I told her during the interview, like I have researched about her name, that this is what it means, she was happy, you know. So that will just make the environment a little bit conducive, and they will know that you are serious, you are even researching about them and so on. And then for us, especially those that are in data science, maybe the technical IT and so on, most of the interview, believe me, will revolve around your CV. So I know we are used to writing like CVs, and then maybe sometimes we forget about what is inside the CV. So our advice before the interview, try to master your CV. Create your own question and ask yourself, if they ask me about this project, how am I going to answer it? Master your project, go back to the introduction. Maybe you have done a lot of projects, you may not remember what you have done. Try to remember like at least the description, the result, and so on. So again, they have talked about the STAR method, right, which is very important, especially in data science interview. You need to give them the STAR method, especially in the results. The result is very important. You have to quantify what the result is. For example, I brought about 90% increase in sales, something like that, when you're talking about your results. Okay, and then the next thing I noted about is like ask people who have done the interview before. So like us here in US, we have like a group, WhatsApp group, where we have people that have already done interview with Google and so on. So what they do, if they have an interview, they come and post the kind of interview questions that they ask them, so that when people are invited, you can go to the archive and kind of check the question, and then they can even also give you advice. This is how you can do it. This is how you tackle this question as well. So I will advise among your peers, if you're doing chemistry, if you're doing physics or something, try to gather people and have a group where you discuss all these things. Of course, you can also go to Reddit, Indeed, and you have all those interview questions. Example where you can see the previous people talk about their previous experience, so that you can be able to practice. Then at the end of the interview also, sometimes you can ask the interviewers, is there anything they think you can improve on? Right, I have experience where I was interviewing some people. They asked me, how do I think they can improve? And I sincerely tell them, okay, you need to do this, you need to do that. So that will also help you. And also, like what Dr. Bashir said, try to send a thank you email whenever you have an interview. After everything, try to copy all the interviewers and tell them thank you, appreciate them, and so on. That will also help. And of course, after like a week or so, you can also send a follow-up email to know what's going on, so that at least they can remember you. They will know that you are serious, you really need want the job. One thing I always ask the interviewers at the end is, I always ask them this question: when do I start the job? And they all laugh and tell me, we'll get back to you. So these are all things that you can do just to get their attention. Then what else? Okay, behavioral questions. I don't know about other part, but I know here in the US they are very important because they really want to know the kind of person they are going to interview. No matter how technical you are, no matter how good you are, behavioral is one of the important things they look at because they don't want to hire somebody that will give them trouble. So you have to be very serious with behavioral questions. Sometimes, even though you don't have, that's the question I was asking Dr. Bashir, even though you don't have experience in something, like let's say they ask you during your work, maybe you have a problem with someone, how did you tackle it also? In that case, I don't know, maybe somebody will say no. In that case, even if you don't have the experience, you can just come up with a story, just to show that you can tackle that kind of situation, okay? To say that I had a problem with my colleague, blah, blah, blah. And I was able to communicate with him. I first call him and tell him this is what you did. I didn't like it, blah, blah, blah. And then we are able to resolve it, something like that. I think that's all I can say for now. Thank you, Dr. Tariq.
Thank you very much. I think we'll start from there. Before we dive into the Q&A, Dr. Ado, what do you think about for this last comment? Should we come up with stories if we don't have? I know you did make a comment on one of the questions that she had, but what are your thoughts on what she just mentioned now?
Sorry, can you just come back? I was just a bit disturbed by some on the last comment.
So, yeah, I think she did mention that some behavioral questions, say they ask you a particular question which you can't think of an experience for that. So maybe you should come up with something that would be able to address that question. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah.
Did you get the point?
Yes, as I mentioned, sometimes it is actually can happen, and I used to see that quite a lot, where a candidate actually is asked about a specific question. It can be a behavioral, it can be a competency-based, or any soft skills. And the candidate did not actually exactly maybe lived a situation or found himself in a close, but he can be able actually to give that, what are the competencies that are needed actually in that specific situation. So what you need to do is actually to focus on when the panelist is asking that question, what is he looking for, right? So you have to identify exactly what is he looking for to assess. Is he want to assess how I react to this? So you can actually give him another example that might not be necessarily the same as he mentioned, but where you can actually highlight this kind of competency. So it's just for you to be very, and actually sometimes we like that because we like this kind of candidate because we can say, yes, this one is very clear and he's very smart, he's very creative. So it's normal, it is very common to see some very great, profile that actually you'll be surprised, ask them a question about this, you can say, I didn't find myself living in this, but if, for example, I found myself living in this kind of situation, this is what I'm going to do. So, you can actually change it from like a background or experience to something that, in case you live this, can just give a practical example. In case this happened to me, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do this, but making it more practical, more realistic, and to show that, yes, you have the competence. And even maybe add an example, saying, okay, for example, a similar situation happened. Do is not the same, but can show you that how I was able to live or to show that I am actually have this competency or I have lived that competency, which is maybe a bit different, to just show that, yes, you are really have the knowledge and the awareness, because that's actually what we want at the end of the day. We want to show people to be aware of some specific competencies, and when they are finding themselves in a situation, they're able to, and they can even give an example of it. Not me. Okay, I have seen such a case where my supervisor was in such a situation, and this is what he did. So actually, so yeah, absolutely, this one is very, very, very smart. So it's just to be very smart.
Yes, thank you for that wonderful answer. And I think I have another question. Sorry to keep you on, on the hot seat. What are your thoughts in terms of psychological ways to more or less respond to questions, to make a presentation? I've read, I can't remember where, some time ago, where you've mentioned colors, for example, in terms of what you wear. But in terms of the way, say, for example, your slides, it's your backgrounds, you had a number of green colors, and we have that kind of psychological way of thinking where certain colors make certain meanings. For example, for sales, you see all these red colors, which means you have to do something. More or less a kind of a traffic light system where I think, if I could remember the article, it was talking about kind of maybe using certain colors in the way that you're presenting, especially towards the end of your presentation, using colors like green, which donates, okay, this is good. Or certain words, the way that you kind of explain, the way that you respond to the question, because each employer, or rather the panel, my understanding is obviously after each interview they'll have to fill out a form to say this is how the candidate has performed before they interview another candidate. And the kind of words that you've used, a number of times they use those words in kind of filling out the forms. Would you agree with me that, or what are your thoughts in terms of psychological ways? So you're not kind of maneuvering things, but should you consider those kind of psychological methods in trying to make sure you get a kind of upper hand in your interviews?
Yes, I think it is actually something to consider in general, even if nowadays we tend to train our hiring managers or even the panelists, to avoid being biased, right? Because there's a lot of bias. People are easily on some small consideration, as we mentioned, can be actually biased, and so we tend nowadays to not judge. Nowadays, you can come to an interview with a tattoo, right? And because you talk about diversity, I used to stop interview because someone was like judging someone because of the way, his or her hair was. And it was, no, I just stopped it. We said, okay, we have to stop it and we have to get this guy out because it is something unacceptable for us, to portray this kind of behavior because when you're doing an interview, it's not about you, it's about the organization. Yeah, so coming to your point, I think it's good whenever you're going for interviews, just pretend that, yes, they can consider those aspects. So for you to have, to put all the chances, at your side, try as much as you can, yes, even to choose those colors, because you never know, Sometimes the HR may be biased and can say this one, let's say, for example, you are hiring someone for a Coca-Cola and he bring, this, let's say this blue or Pepsi. You see, for somehow it can actually mean someone, you can be doing the same things, and at the end of the day, you can be like two best candidates, and you have to choose one between them. And the other one might be choose the best color. Say, okay, so in addition, one, at least he is very sensitive to our specificity, because companies it's about their image. If you look at how they, before interviewing, go and check when they're posting, which colors are they putting, right? So it's good to look at those. It's not very, very, very important, but sometimes can make actually a difference.
Yeah. I think it's a good one that you've mentioned, the unconscious bias. Really, I know there are, as you rightly mentioned, trainings to ensure recruiters are aware of those kind of unconscious bias. I think we'll go on to the Q&A session now. I can see a number of people wanting to ask questions. So please, if you could clearly state your question and who you want your question to go to. So I'll start with Anas Hadi. Unless if Dr. Akubu or Dr. Bashir or anyone has any comment or question before then.
I wanted to add something, Dr. Tariq, about the question that Dr. Fauziya had. So mainly, I think not everyone has, that ticks the boxes in most of the situations. So it could be as well, an experience you had specifically for leadership roles. It could be something related to mentoring you know, for example, you've mentored candidates, you can mention that, you know, to demonstrate that, you know, that competence or that capability. You can also, you know, mention, you know, if you've been a coach, let's say in a local club, you can, if you've been even a class representative or in a, you know, university or school association, you have led, you know, as, you know, you just need to show that competence. You don't have to show that competence specifically doing a technical role, but they just want to understand, you know, how you have shown that leadership and, you know, to make sure that you can cope with those kind of challenges.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Right. Yes, and I think as we always say, it's more or less thinking about those experiences. One way or the other, you have you know, those experiences, more or less going back to that pool and picking out which one fits for that particular scenario. So yeah, thank you very much. Anas Hadi, do you want to unmute yourself and ask your question, please?
Hello, good afternoon,
Anas.
everyone.
Hello, good afternoon. Yes, we can hear you.
Doing? Thank you very much for the organizing this great mentorship. I would like to have a contact of the Dr. Abdulmalik Yusuf because he's a senior career in my cadre. He studied automotive engineering. I too, I study automotive engineering from FUT MENA, and now I'm lecturing as at Sokoto. So please, I want to have his contact.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you for that. Yeah, okay. Sunusi Abdul Karim, do you have a question to make or to ask rather? Can you unmute yourself? Sunusi Abdul Karim, and ask your question, please.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
I want to thank you very much for organizing these sessions. Actually, when I saw it, it was funny because I attended so many interviews, but I couldn't get it. Some in Europe, some in Asia, Australia, Malaysia, Europe, Norway, one others. Mine is not actually direct questions about this session. I already secured one scholarship concerning related scholarships in South Africa. It is through your mentorship I was able to get this scholarship. It's a conference scholarship. It was organized by the Institute of Transport and Logistics Studies, University of Sydney. And now it was going to be held at University of Cape Town, South Africa. So I want to ask you, there's anybody that can help me, or if there's anyone that's studying there, so that I can get connections with them, so that I can get easy to get to my destinations. I emailed one of your colleagues actually concerning it, but I wanted to tell you in this group, in this panel of discussion. That's what I'm asking. Thank you.
Thank you very much. What I would advise is if you join the AYMP platforms, we have the Telegram page. I'm sure you could get contacts, and obviously I think someone would get back to you on that, one of the organizing committee members.
Very much.
Thank you very much for that. Abdul Samad Hamisu Ahmad, do you have a question? Can you unmute yourself?
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm grateful for the opportunity. I have two questions specifically. Now, number one goes to Mr. Adam, and then the other one to Dr. Fauziya. Starting with Mr. Adams on, precisely we have a case at hand. There was a circular of a notification for applications. So a friend of mine did apply through an agency based in Abuja for a Saudi job, and then they denied much of the specific information they needed to know about the employer specifically. So it was more of like a blind application, just Saudi job. So for them to now got there, they had an initial contract of paying $1,000 upon successfully securing the job. So after everything, they had a lot of hard time, and then the interview was fully kind of, they were not just happy about the interview because most of the questions they were asked, they could respond. So luckily, he happens to be part of those that were recruited. And after that, then the agency quickly now changed their mind from that 1,000 request, $1,000 request, insisting that before they can proceed to the next level of medicals and all of that, they have to make it 3,000. Otherwise, the appointment has been terminated. So as I'm speaking, it's up to about like 4 months now. And then the contract will be terminated once it's 6 months without the candidate reporting. And then they're still back and forth on that additional 2,000, which the agency just bring because of they have succeeded. So I want to get his insights regarding the scenario. And then the other question specifically to Dr. Fauziya is on emotional control. When it comes to interview, it can be so nice, you are prepared, you know what you did, your CV, you are connected with your CV and everything, but you just finding yourself at the like facing the panel, or you are at right there. Some people now tends to be emotional. I picked that a lot in ladies. So please, if she can share some tips, personal or whatever, that can help people to calm themselves down, emotionally control themselves in order to really give what is expected of them. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Right. So, Mr. Ado, did you get his question?
Yeah, I think I got it a bit. I think for that one, it is always, difficult to advise someone on this because, those agencies sometimes they're not like very just exploiting people, unfortunately. And for me, what I'm advising people in this kind of situation is if you really need that job and you think that this is the best one for you, just you pick it just for the first 6 months, and then afterward you can this once you're in the system, right, before integrating the system is going, there is a lot of a lot of issues that you can't control. There's nothing you can do. It's either you take it or but if you think that yes, at least the job is really a real job and you trust them, at least they're just trying to exploit you guys. It's for me sometimes okay, you just have two options. You either said, okay, I just want to get out from this, I don't want to eat, or okay, I take it, I play the game, the time just to secure the job, and once in, I will also play my game back. So for me, that's generally I advise people.
Yeah, I think that goes back to you doing a lot of research even before you start your application. Should you apply through an agent who at the end of the day would be requesting money? So I think research, as we always advise, I think it's the most important thing. Even before you apply, is that a way that you can apply directly? Why do you have to apply through an agent? If the agent is there to support you, a lot of these agents, usually professional agents, they are tasked by the company to source, people for them. So the company is supposed to pay if there's requirement for any payment. The company is supposed to pay them. You, as an applicant, as an interviewee, you're not supposed to be the one who's paying anything. So if right before you apply, you need to do your research to understand if you need to apply through these agencies or not. If you're applying through agencies, it has to be reputable agencies that are credible. I think that would be just an addition to what you've just mentioned. The second question, Dr. Fauziya, you mentioned about interview. Sometimes you prepare, but then all of a sudden you're there, you're nervous. What suggestion, what advice do you have for him?
Yeah, okay. Before I answer that, let me add a little bit about what you discussed.
Yes.
About this using agents. You guys need to be careful because there are a lot of cases here. It's just even last week I was watching on the TV. I saw some lady in Canada. I think she used an agent to get admission into Canada. She has graduated and everything, and now they are trying to deport her because they said the admission letter she uses it is fake. So, and according to her, she's saying she doesn't know it's the agent that gave her. So you guys should be careful. A lot of this application is something you can do yourself. You don't have to go through any agent. So just be careful. Anybody that will ask you, you have to pay something in order to get a job. From there, you should know that something is wrong. Okay. So, and then regarding the second question, yeah, especially us ladies, we can get nervous. So the first thing I always advise is practice. always try to practice before you go for the interview. Try to get some of your colleagues to ask you questions. Assume like you are in the interview room, and so practice with them. And then another thing I mentioned also, try to make the environment conducive for yourself. The first thing when you enter an interview is they always try to, the interviewers, they first introduce themselves, right? Before they ask you, tell me about yourself. So at that point where they are introducing themselves, try to calm yourself down, take a deep breath. You can even just take some few minutes, ask them questions so that you can relax. And so the first thing is practice, and put in your mind, these are just people, they are not going to bite you or anything. You are just there to show that you have the skills and everything. And if you prepare, a lot of things will will be easier for you. Sometimes when you don't prepare that you become nervous. So try to prepare as much as you can. I think that's better thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Doctor. We don't get much ladies, so I'll give Mariam Jibril the chance to ask a question. Mariam Jibril, can you unmute yourself to ask a question or make a comment, please?
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
Good afternoon, and thank you very much for the great session. My question is to Dr. Fauziya. So my question is, how can I effectively communicate my ability to balance a new job opportunity while being married and living in another state? Let's say the job is in Kano and I'm staying in Lagos maybe. So when applying during the interview, how do I communicate to them that I can balance it and I can do it? Because before applying, I have already spoken with my husband and he's perfectly okay with it. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that wonderful question. Just before Dr. Fauziya make a comment on that, I think as Mr. Ado mentioned, there are questions that are allowed and questions that are not allowed. So any question that has to do with, as is mentioned, equality, diversity, whether you have kids, I think those questions are not allowed. But Dr. Fauziya can add on to that.
Yeah, they are not allowed, but sometimes you can maybe get a crazy person that will ask. I remember that interview I did in with somebody. What he asked me was he was thinking, okay, it's a postdoc, right? So he was saying that if I get an assistant professor job, although that one is not about diversity, he believes that if I get an assistant professor job, I'm not going to do the postdoc. I was like, for me to come to the interview, right? I answered him because I said, for me to come for the interview, that means I'm ready to do it. So that is left to me, whether to choose either I want to be assistant professor or whether to be a postdoc. So if he's going to judge me because of that, because I'm sure he may try to say, okay, when they are evaluating, oh, this girl, if she get an assistant, I'm sure she'll get an assistant professor job. She's not going to come for this postdoc. So I addressed it at that point. I told him that this is what I want to do, and I'm ready for it. If I don't want to do it, I wouldn't have even applied. I wouldn't have even come for the interview. So if in case somebody even asks you that question, just tell him, for you to even apply, for you to come for the interview, just try to be polite. Don't be that rude. That means you are ready to do it. It's something you have discussed with your husband and you are ready to do it. You don't have any problem. You can even use that opportunity to show him if he thinks maybe because you are from the north, you are not allowed to go anywhere or something. Try to even educate him at that point, to tell him it's not that you have already discussed with your husband is not that kind of a person as well. So you may experience that, but just like Dr. Charid mentioned, the HR expert, right? I don't want to mention his name, is my father's name. So he has mentioned that some questions are not even valid. But believe me, sometimes some of those people that do interview can be crazy. Just try to address them at that point, tell them your reason, because you are the one looking for the job. So just try to convince them, yes, you are ready to take the job.
Thank you very much. Any other person who wants to add anything onto this question?
Dr. Tariq,
I think okay.
Yeah?
I wanted to say something about the context where we discuss. So, you know, there are protected characteristics in the UK, perhaps in the US, but one thing I've noticed in Nigeria is when people, you know, write CVs, they talk about their religion. They say that, you know, religion is this. They talk about married with kids. You know, people go into personal, you know, personal details which they don't actually need to, you know, to disclose. So I think that's where the problem is coming from. So I guess the root cause needs to be addressed. I'm sure perhaps in previous sessions you might have addressed it, maybe in CV preparation, but when you write your CV, you don't have to talk about whether you're married or not. If, you know, whether you're a man or a woman, you don't have to mention, you know, that. But yeah, I think it's the context. And if that's what is, you know, valid for Nigerian context, then you must have to mention it, or you may need to explain it. I don't know the law in Nigeria, but I think the law needs to be relevant here. Just trying to say, yeah, the context is important actually.
Dr. Tariq, I think if I may add to this
Yes.
question, you know, it actually depends on environment you are. You know what I mean? So in Nigeria, don't be surprised to hear any silly questions. You know what I mean? They can do that. But, you know, from our experiences, UK, US, nobody actually cares about the number of children, married or not married. Like, you know, those guys, they only see you as their employee, and they are ready to give you a job. And although it might affect them, because when they give someone who has 3 children or 4 children job, and they still have to go on and sponsor his visas, you know, it costs them a lot. But nobody, as far as I know, asks whether you have kids or you don't have kids. You know what I mean? So, but I know in some environments, like for example in Asia, one of the country I know, if they give you a job, they will try to know whether you have children or not, and there are limits of children they can sponsor or they can allow you to come on with. You know what I mean? So it depends on environment still. Not only in Nigeria, even some countries in Asia do this, and it's so unfortunate.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I want to just
come
and just quickly.
Mr. Ado, please, if you allow me, I will give you first-hand information regarding this. Recently, I think this is a personal experience, how we were able to handle this issue. Like there is a rule I know here where I live. If they will give you a position, depending on the type of position, like a postdoc or something, maybe they are looking at the responsibilities, you know, that you will have to do in the role. And then they are looking at your income, and they feel maybe if you have a number of children, maybe 3, 4, 5, like you will have to be, you know, spend on their education, and they know that their package doesn't constitute like educational allowance for your children. So they have to balance that. But just the reason why I'm telling you this is for the applicants, for the candidates to know how to maybe, you know, pass this type of question. Because if you have 4 children and they ask you how many children do you have, and you are interested in the job, you cannot say you don't have 4 children, right? You have to tell them you have 4 children. But the best thing is some of the applicants that are smart, I think what they did was they said, if they didn't answer the question, they said they were not planning to come with their family. That's what they said. They said at the moment, their plan was they will come alone. They will leave their family at home. So the question of whether how many children they have should not even arise. Then after they come, maybe 6 months or so, everyone is allowed to go and apply for visa directly from the ministry, not from the school, like not from the employer, okay? As an individual here, you are allowed to go and apply and sponsor anybody, either your wife, your children. You can even add another wife if you like. You know, so many things. You are flexible to do that. So basically, if we see a candidate and we are interested in him, we normally try to tell them that if they fall into this category, maybe they have 3, 4 children, 2 wives, something like that. Like if he can step aside, come in with the family, maybe for a few months, 3 months or so, then later he can prepare that, you know, after he got the job, even he reports and everything. So this is just it. But actually, it happens. It happens. Even they'll ask you clearly, how many children do you have? You have more than 2 children, then your case is closed. That's it.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that. And I think Mr. Ado has something to add on to that as well.
Yeah. Actually, it is a very tricky situation, and I've seen it quite a lot. Sometimes, even in a lot of those international organizations, some people say, okay, for example, you have 2 best candidates. The other one is single, and the other one is married with 3 kids. So, okay, the person will say, okay, from budgetary perspective, if I hire that one, I have to that, but he or she has to relocate with the family, with the cost. But definitively, in any serious organization, this is not allowed. But I know, for example, locally, be it in Nigeria, Ghana, here, or especially in Africa, it's very common. Especially when say, okay, but I need someone who's single, because if she's single, they need to cover the insurance, of families, and so as I think one of the hosts here mentioned is, yes, sometimes you need to be very careful because you want to have the job, right? You don't also want to frustrate, to sometimes can even intentionally ask you to see, especially for them if you are HR. And I was asked that question. I was HR. So, and I think they want to know, okay, are you accepting this kind of question as HR? So, for me, I respond that this actually has nothing to do with the side of family, or, well, this question has nothing to do with the side of family. Can be one single, married, with kids, but at the end of the day, I am the one doing the job. So just try to find a very professional way to answer that question without frustrating the person, and also by the person knowing that, yes, at least that person, because at the end of the day, we like direct people that are actually smart, that are actually very, very, very clear, saying, okay, I'm sorry, but this question, even if I want to respond, I think it's very personal. Can I please kindly skip that question? So we like this kind of question because, so these are the people that you are looking for, that are very firm. So don't be afraid to be firm, but in a very polite way. But I also understand the context. Sometimes it's people don't care about all those laws. They don't care, they can ask you. So it's up to you to navigate depending on the context, but you can actually find a very polite way to also avoid that question. That's just the advice. And also, as someone mentioned, when you're doing your CV, married, 4 children, Christian, Muslim, these are not that of birth. Even, don't put all those things. Just put your name, your contact, and even your address, you are not obliged to put if you want. Right? Sometimes it can help because we want to know if you are, but don't put personal information on your CV. That's all.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that. We'll move on.
Sorry, Dr. Tariq.
Yes, go ahead.
I think the for the lady that asked the question, they always, I don't know about in Nigeria, they always ask about that question, are you ready to relocate? So I think that's the question. If she already say yes, she's ready to relocate to wherever the job is, then I think that should answer the question. They always ask about, I can remember in the job application, sometimes you see that kind of question. Yeah. Maybe you live in Alabama and the job is in California, they will ask you, are you ready to relocate? And you answer yes. So if you put no, they will not even call you for the interview, because if that's one of the criteria they're looking at.
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much. Laila Ali Jungudo, we don't get ladies as I've mentioned earlier, so I'm just giving you the.
Assalamu alaikum. I'm so sorry, my background is a bit poor. Yes, thank you so much for the wonderful class, and my question is to Dr. Yakubu Sani Wudil. Doctor, actually I studied BSc Physics and MSc Theoretical Physics, so I just applied for the recent KFUMP scholarship that they just did advert just like a month back. So I applied it without the IELTS exams. So I don't know if I will be considered, if I need to know more about it, or if there is need for me to do that exams. Thank you very much.
Right. Your question has slightly drifted away from our topic today. We're talking about interviews, and my understanding is you're talking about IELTS, if I understand correctly. Doctor, do you want to respond to that quickly, please?
Okay, I think, yeah, it all depends on your permission.
Yeah, if you can just quickly answer that.
All right, okay, I think in summary, you can apply without those exams, but even if you're admitted, when you come here, they will ask you to provide. So it's better if you can write it now, just do it now before you come. That's it.
Thank you, Doctor. Kabir Alhaji Bala, can you unmute yourself and ask your question?
Thank you.
It's difficult to hear you.
Dr. Tariq, we have Prof with us.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, it's Prof. Okay, it's Prof. Yeah, special guest.
Yes.
Okay,
but
can
Prof, you have
we?
to unmute. Prof is speaking while he's muted. Prof, you have to unmute. I hope Prof can hear us.
Yes,
Yes, very good.
sorry about that.
Yes, okay, Prof. Thank you very much for honoring our invitation. We know you're very busy.
Sorry, in activity in Nepal. I wanted even to invite me, so I was unable to join.
Okay, so,
yeah.
Okay, do you want to say something? Right.
Yes, we've been talking about interviews, as
yes,
you might have picked up.
I heard you.
Yes. Okay, sir. So probably I'll give you the floor to make your comment. As we already know, Prof is an accomplished educator and an researcher with over 35 years of experience working both in the States as well as in the Nigerian public education system. His expertise lies in STEM, which is the science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, particularly for at-risk students. He has taught at esteemed institutions such as the University of Kansas and Kansas City, Kansas Community College, and has been recognized multiple times as an outstanding technology educator and teacher of the year. So, Prof, I'll give you the floor now.
Okay, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And Jazakallah khair for all those who contributed. I had almost, I think maybe one or two I didn't hear, but I had a lot. Especially, I'm happy to hear all the pieces of information you delivered for this very important topic. I realized really we have serious, I think, differences between, I think, Europe, US, and Nigeria with reference to job interviews and so on. First of all, I believe interview itself is a stress. The moment you are going for interview, I mean, you're going to start thinking a lot of things. What if this? What if that? What so, and so on. So right there, you have a stress on yourself. And I assured you, the person who is hiring you and you, the job applicant, you know, you are already in stress because you are thinking, okay, am I going to get the right person? Am I going to, you know, if I am the one to hire, you know, what type of person am I looking for? And on and on. So many things. Recently, I returned from Nigeria. Let me give you my personal experience. And I realized I don't want to sit idle. So I said, oh, summer school is going on. So let me go and apply to go at least and teach summer schools in those secondary schools. Fortunately, I was called for an interview. I attended 3 interviews. But before I did the interview, actually, you know, I have to write exams here. This has been happening. They will send you an information on the web. You have to answer all those questions, especially if you're a teacher like me. And this reference with the teaching from K to 12 in US. Those of you who are teaching, you will experience that. So you have to answer those questions. If you pass with the minimum level they want, then they will send you another test on the machine. You will be talking to the machine, not individuals here. They will send you, oh, thank you, Mr. So-so, oh, thank you, Mr. X, or Dr. Y, and on and on. Here is another one we want you to attempt and do. So by the time you did that, you passed, then you'll get to me the third one that the Department of Public Relations will call you and talk to you. And then that department will send you another video with tons of questions with reference to what they want you to answer. And they will ask you the question. They will give you certain minute or minutes. Normally, it's, I think, a minute and 2 minutes maximum to answer. Once you answer that effectively, then they will ask you to come for an interview face to face. In the interview, it's more than two. I had one of your colleagues who presented, said 2 people. The one I attended the last, I think, 4 weeks or 5.5 weeks ago, were 3 or 4 in some cases, you know, talking to you. And as Malam Bahoshi Kabajo Kayam Kolenka, and then you come and start discussing, they will be shooting you questions here and there. And as somebody said in the beginning, you got dressed very well and you got to relax yourself. Don't rush. Don't be in a haste. Like I think that Dr. Fauziya was saying, you know, we are in a hurry wanting to get, you know, want to get the job done. Or I can do this, or I can do that. One of us mentioned that in his or her explanation. And you need to be calm, relaxed, and make sure you understand the question. That's the most important thing, what they're asking you. In our case here, I think the most important thing they want to know more about you, especially if you are going to be a classroom teacher, is your classroom management and your experience and your knowledge. If you can be able to articulate very well, you know, how you are going to take care of your class. With all those questions, you're going to come across, which some of us, you know, have asked. For example, you know, why do you want to work here? Is one of the questions, you know, and would like what type of experience would you bring to this job? You know, you said you're an experienced teacher, and then they give you a scenario, you know, of what you know how you tell me about difficult to work situation. Exactly, they will give you a scenario about a student and you as a teacher. You know, if this happens during a classroom, how would you solve it? And they would be looking at you the way, you know, you respond to it, you know, positively or negatively or mixture of that. So these are some of the things that you should prepare yourself very well. And one of the again, I think 2 people they talked about, you know, answering about your strengths and weaknesses. Extremely important in an interview. You got to mention like your strengths. What are you good at, and what have you been doing good? And their weaknesses, for example, I normally tell them I tend to, you know, overwork myself. That's my weakness. Like when I start working, you know, I sometimes I don't know when to stop. I mean, that's I realize it's part of my weakness when I'm in school. So they want to hear that. They don't want to hear that like, oh yeah, I want to leave early, or I have this problem, or and on and on. So this question of your strength and weakness to us here, especially in education and in public school, is extremely important. And what are your career goals and objectives? That means in that school, what are you there to do? Are you there to impart knowledge? Are you there to be with those youth, you know, to try really and change their future and make them the future of tomorrow, and so on and so forth? So these are extremely important answers. And the way you articulate them, I think the way you are on your way to those jobs. So alhamdulillah, for me, you know, I got 3 jobs. I have to take one. Now I'm really teaching summer. And next week will be my last week to teach summer. And that school has already offered me, and even sincerely begging me. Even yesterday I was to leave. They called me, like we spent over an hour asking me to, you know, take a full-time employment in September. This is a charter school here in Kansas City, Missouri. So these are my personal experience. So in addition to what all those my colleagues and good friends said, I personally really experienced it recently. And my daughter recently too, you know, got a job, and all these things I'm saying, you know, as we sat, me and her, we talked about it, her appearance, how she's going to answer it, how she's going to reply questions and so on. And here it's normal. I know in Nigeria it's difficult to be asking you to ask questions, but here they ask you your salary. What do you expect? Especially Prof, you know, with the experience, you are a former teacher of the year, or this and that. What do you expect? You tell them. And sometimes in all the cases, the 3 places where I appeared after all these technological questions, I showed them the money is nothing. All I'm there to make a real difference in the youth, in the children. And I think that really, to me, the word that catched or, got all of those. No doubt, yeah, I retired. I don't care about how much you're going to pay me, but I care what I want to do, to really impart, my, not only the knowledge, but my international experience. Because I told them I've been in Nigeria, I taught, and I did this, I did that educationally, and they want me to really apply it here. And sincerely, right now in Kansas City, here in my last 3 weeks of summer school, I have been applying it, sincerely. So these are some of the things I believe that, you as an interviewer, as I said, the first and most important thing is, preparation. You got to prepare. You got to think ahead, and you got to plan ahead, and you have to be there on time. At least for us here, 15 to 30 minutes before the time. So once you do that, and you talk effectively, you talk calmly, you talk gently, and you're able to articulate your answers, you get the job. You choose from what you have. Like in my case, I have 3 jobs. I have to choose one, and that's what happened in this summer for me. So in short, that's what I would like to say. And I really want to appreciate almost everybody's contribution, because this is a very wide range of field when it comes to job interview. And it can be what type of job. Is it like in education here, as I mentioned? Is it in business? And in what country? Like in Nigeria, the scenario is different. The environment is different. The situation is different. And the people are different. So in short, that's what I want to say. And thank you, Dr. Yakubu and the rest, who give me the opportunity to at least say a word or two. Jazakallah khair.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Prof, for that wonderful comments that you've given there. We really appreciate it. And as I mentioned earlier, we know you're very busy, but you're still willing to, chip in and contribute. So we really appreciate you for that. Thank you very much. And I think we're really towards the end of the session. It's already 2 hours past, even though we started a little bit late today. Remember, we're finishing now, but we're not ending the discussion. You can always continue the discussion in our social media platforms. So please, if Dr. Yakubu has already shared a link to join those platforms, do join in, and we can always continue the discussions. Finally, I think I'll pass on the mic to Dr. Yakubu. Final remarks before we close today.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Tariq, for the wonderful moderation. And I would really like to extend our profound appreciation to the speakers on behalf of the organizing committee and the participants for staying this long. Really, the session has been very impactful. We have learned a lot, and we will continue to revisit the video and the slides, of course, as the video will be uploaded to the YouTube, inshallah, as soon as possible. And the slides also will be combined from all the speakers, will be combined and shared in the Telegram group of the Arewa Youth Mentorship Program. So I think this has been a very wonderful session. Thank you, Prof, for taking time to join us today. We really appreciate the kind gesture. So I think, inshallah, we should look forward to having a next insightful session very soon on another interesting topic. Thank you very much, Dr. Tariq.
Thank you very much. And I think this officially brings us to the end of the session. For those of you that are already here, you can always stay around, and hopefully maybe a few more questions would be.
You can also be part of it as a mentor or student. Join the Arewa Youth Mentorship Program on Telegram, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. AYMP, together we can be great.